Captain Lee Daeho stood on the bridge of the Thunderhawk, watching the stars blur past in hyperspace. His ship was far from home, deep in unexplored space on a routine survey mission. The crew had been out here for 3 months mapping new systems and checking for signs of intelligent life. "Sir, we're picking up something strange," said Dr. Kim So-min from her station. She was the ship's expert on alien languages and cultures. Her fingers danced over the controls as she tried to make sense of what they were hearing. "What kind of strange?" Lee asked, walking over to her station. "It's a signal. Very weak, but it's definitely artificial. Someone is trying to communicate across space." Kim's face was serious. "Sir, I think it's a distress call." Lee felt his heart skip a beat. In all their years of space travel, humans had only met a few alien species. Most were friendly, but some were not. Finding a distress call this far from known space could mean anything. "Can you translate it?" he asked. Kim worked for several minutes, her computer running through different language patterns. Slowly, words began to appear on her screen. As she read them, her face went pale. "Sir, you need to hear this," she said quietly. The bridge went silent as Kim played the translated message. A sad musical voice filled the air. "To anyone who can hear this message, we are the people of Velthara Prime. We are a peaceful race who have never known war. But now ships have come to our world. They call themselves the Krex Dominion. They are destroying everything we have built. They are taking our children. They are killing our elders. We have tried to fight, but we do not know how. Our crystals sing of death. Our cities burn. If anyone receives this message, please help us. We do not want to die. We do not want our children to become slaves. Please, if there is anyone out there who still believes that innocent people should be protected, come to Velthara Prime. We will be waiting, if we are still alive." The message repeated over and over. Each time it played, the voice seemed weaker, more desperate. Lieutenant Park Ji-woo, the ship's tactical officer, broke the silence. "Sir, where is Velthara Prime?" Kim checked her star charts. "It's about 2 weeks away at maximum speed. It's in the outer rim, far from any major trade routes." "That's why no one has responded," said Park grimly. "It's too far and too dangerous." Lee stared at the star map. Velthara Prime was a tiny dot in the vast darkness of space. He thought about the voice in the message, begging for help that might never come. "Sir," came a voice from behind him. Engineer Han Mi-young had been listening from her station. "Earth Command ordered us to return home next week. If we go to Velthara Prime, we'll be directly disobeying orders." Lee nodded slowly. He knew the rules. He knew what he was supposed to do. Survey missions were not supposed to become rescue missions. The Thunderhawk was a research vessel, not a warship. They had only 300 people on board, but he also thought about his daughter back on Earth. She was about the same age as the alien children mentioned in the message. What would he want someone to do if she was the one calling for help across the darkness of space? "Dr. Kim," he said finally, "how long has this message been broadcasting?" "Based on the signal strength and degradation, I'd say about 6 months, sir." 6 months. For half a year, these people had been sending their desperate plea into space, hoping someone would care enough to help. Lee looked around his bridge. His crew was watching him, waiting for his decision. "Sir," said Park quietly, "the Krex Dominion. I've heard of them. They're slavers and conquerors. They've wiped out at least a dozen species in the past century. No one fights them because they're too powerful." "How powerful?" Lee asked. "Their ships are huge, sir. Biomechanical things that can repair themselves. They usually attack with overwhelming force. If they're at Velthara Prime, there could be hundreds of their ships there." Lee closed his eyes. Hundreds of enemy ships versus one research vessel. It was impossible. It was suicide. It was exactly the kind of reckless decision that Earth Command was always warning them against. He opened his eyes and looked at his crew again. These were good people. Scientists, engineers, explorers. They had families back home. They had lives to return to. "Dr. Kim," he said, "send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we've received a distress call and are investigating." "Tell them," he paused. "Tell them that some things are more important than following orders." Kim smiled. "Yes, sir. Lieutenant Park, plot a course for Velthara Prime, maximum speed, sir," Park said, but not to argue. "What are we going to do when we get there?" "We're not a military ship," Lee thought about this. It was a good question. What could 300 humans do against an entire fleet of alien warships? "We're going to do what humans do," he said finally. "We're going to help people who can't help themselves. Maybe we can't win a fight, but maybe we can save some lives. Maybe we can make sure their message gets heard by someone who can do more than we can. Engineer Han spoke up from her station. Sir, the crew should vote on this. We're asking them to risk their lives. Lee nodded. You're right. Put it to a vote. Anyone who wants to take the escape pods and head back to Earth can do so. No shame in that. This isn't their fight. The vote took exactly 10 minutes. When the results came in, Park had a small smile on his face. Sir, the vote was 300 in favor, 0 against. 0? Lee asked, surprised. Sir, said Dr. Kim, turning from her station. Engineer Cho said it best. He said we didn't join the space service to ignore people in trouble. He said that's what makes us different from the monsters out there. Lee felt a warmth in his chest. These were the people he was proud to serve with. These were the people who would travel across the galaxy to answer a cry for help, even when no one else would. All right, people, he said, set course for Velthara Prime, and send one more message to Earth Command. Tell them that if they don't hear from us again, they should send everything they have. Tell them the Krex Dominion needs to learn what happens when you hurt innocent people. The Thunderhawk changed course, its engines burning bright in the darkness. Behind them, the safe path home grew smaller and smaller. Ahead of them lay the unknown, danger and possibly death. But also ahead of them was a world full of people who had been crying for help for 6 months. People who thought no one was coming. People who were about to learn that humans never abandon those who cannot defend themselves. As the ship jumped into hyperspace toward Velthara Prime, Lee stood on the bridge and thought about the message they had heard. Soon those desperate voices would know that someone had heard them. Someone was coming, the storm was on its way. 2 weeks later, the Thunderhawk dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Velthara system. What Captain Lee Dae-ho saw on the main screen made his blood run cold. Velthara Prime hung in space like a dying jewel. The planet that should have been blue and green was now covered in smoke and fire. Massive alien ships surrounded it like vultures around a corpse. The ships were unlike anything in human databases. Twisted, organic-looking things that seemed to breathe and pulse as they moved. Mother of God, whispered Lieutenant Park Ji-woo. How many are there? Dr. Kim So-min worked frantically at her sensor station. I count at least 200 ships, sir. Maybe more. They're doing something to the planet. What kind of something? Lee asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. They're strip mining the entire surface, sir, but not for metals or minerals. They're harvesting living tissue. Lee felt sick. The Krex weren't just conquering Velthara Prime. They were destroying it completely, taking everything that lived and leaving nothing behind. Sir, came a voice from across the bridge. Sergeant Major Cho Hyun-woo, the leader of their small group of Marines, had been watching the tactical displays. Those ships are launching smaller craft, landing parties. They're still hunting survivors. This meant some of the Veltharans were still alive, still hiding somewhere on their dying world. Lee felt a small spark of hope. Dr. Kim, can you contact any survivors? Can you reach anyone down there? Kim adjusted her equipment, scanning through different frequencies. For several minutes there was nothing but static. Then faintly they heard it. The same musical voice from the original distress call, but weaker now, more desperate. This is Elder Threnya of the Crystal Caves. Is anyone there? We have been hiding for so long. The destroyers hunt us day and night. Our children cry for food we do not have. Our singers fall silent one by one. If anyone can hear this, please help us. We are the last. Lee grabbed the communication device. Elder Threnya, this is Captain Lee Dae-ho of the human ship Thunderhawk. We received your distress call. We're here to help. The silence that followed seemed to last forever. Then a sound that might have been crying came through the speakers. Humans? You came? But we are so few now. And the destroyers are so many. Why would you risk yourselves for us? Before Lee could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Engineer Han Mi-young called out from her station. Sir, we've been spotted. One of their ships is breaking away from the main fleet. It's heading straight for us. On the main screen, Lee watched as one of the massive Krex ships turned toward them. It was at least 3 times the size of the Thunderhawk, its biomechanical hull rippling as it moved. Just one ship? Asked Park. Why only one? Dr. Kim had been monitoring Krex communications. Sir, I'm picking up their transmissions. They're laughing at us. Laughing? They think we're just a lost scout ship, sir. They're sending one ship to deal with us because they don't think we're worth more effort. Lee felt anger burn in his chest. To the Krex, humans were nothing. Just another weak species that would run away when faced with real danger. They had no idea what they were dealing with. "Sir," said Pilot Commander Yoon Taemin from his station, "we could run. Our ship is faster than theirs. We could get away and bring back help." Lee considered this. It would be the smart thing to do. The safe thing to do. But it would also mean leaving the Veltharans to die while they waited for rescue that might never come. "How long would it take to get back to Earth?" he asked. "At least a month, sir. Maybe more if we had to convince Earth Command to send a fleet." Lee looked at the planet on the screen. A month was too long. In a month there would be no Veltharans left to save. "Dr. Kim, can you get me a direct line to that Krek ship?" "Sir?" Kim looked confused. "I want to talk to them." Kim worked at her controls for a moment. "You're connected, sir." Lee took a deep breath. "Krek ship, this is Captain Lee Dae-ho of the human vessel Thunderhawk. I'm requesting immediate withdrawal from this system." A harsh, grinding voice answered him. The universal translator made it understandable, but it still sounded like metal scraping against stone. "Human vessel, you are far from your home space. This system belongs to the Krek's dominion now. Leave immediately and you will not be harmed." "I can't do that," Lee replied. "You're committing genocide against innocent people. That's not something humans can ignore." The laughter that came through the speakers was like breaking glass. "Humans, we have studied your species. You are weak. You fight among yourselves. You have no stomach for real war. Leave now, before we decide to visit your home world and show you what happens to races that interfere with the Dominion." Lee felt something cold settle in his stomach. The threat to Earth was clear, but he also thought about the voice of Elder Threnya, begging for help in the darkness. "I have a counteroffer," Lee said calmly. "You leave this system immediately and we won't have to show you what happens when you threaten human civilians." The silence that followed was broken by more grinding laughter. "You threaten us? One small ship against the might of the Dominion? You are either very brave or very stupid, human." "Maybe both," Lee admitted. "But there's something you should understand about humans. We don't abandon people who need our help. That's what makes us different from you." "Then you will die with them," the Krek's commander said. "We will make your death slow so you can watch as we finish harvesting this world. Then we will find your Earth and do the same to your children." The communication cut off. On the screen, the Krek ship was getting closer. Lee could see weapon ports opening along its hull. "Sir?" said Sergeant Major Cho. "What are your orders?" Lee looked around his bridge. These people had followed him across the galaxy to answer a cry for help. They knew they were probably going to die, but none of them looked afraid. They looked determined. "Dr. Kim, send a message to Earth. Tell them what we found here. Tell them about the Veltharans and tell them about the Krek's threat to Earth." "Yes, sir." "Engineer Han, how much power can you give me from the engines?" Han Mi-young smiled grimly. "All of it, sir. Every last bit." "Good. Park, target their main weapons. Yoon, prepare for attack run." "Sir," Park said quietly. "We can't win this fight." Lee nodded. "No, we can't, but we can make sure the message gets through, and we can show them that humans don't run away from bullies." He opened a channel to the entire ship. "All hands, this is the captain. We're about to engage a Krek's warship. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and probably not going home. But down on that planet are people who have been hoping for 6 months that someone would hear their call for help. Today, they learned that someone did. Today, they learned that humans keep their promises." He closed the channel and looked at his crew one more time. "For Velthara Prime," he said. "For Velthara Prime," they replied. The Thunderhawk turned toward the approaching Krek's ship, its engines burning bright against the darkness of space. The Krek's warship stopped just outside weapon range of the Thunderhawk. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then Dr. Kim So-min picked up a new signal. "Sir, they're requesting to dock with us. They want to send someone over." Captain Lee Dae-ho frowned. "They want to talk?" "It seems that way, sir." Lieutenant Park Ji-woo checked his weapons display. "Sir, this could be a trap. They could be sending over soldiers to capture our ship." Lee thought about this. It was certainly possible, but it was also possible that the Krek's commander wanted to negotiate. Maybe he could convince them to let some of the Veltharans live. "Allow them to dock," Lee said finally, "but have security ready. If they try anything, we fight." 20 minutes later, Lieutenant Park stood in the docking bay with a full squad of human Marines. The airlock opened with a hiss, and what emerged made several of the younger soldiers take a step back. The Krex negotiator was 7 feet tall and looked like a nightmare. Its body was covered in black, insect-like armor that seemed to move and breathe. Its face was hidden behind a mask that looked like a skull. When it spoke, the voice came from speakers in its chest rather than from any visible mouth. "I am Sub-Commander Velgoth of the Krex Dominion. I speak for the fleet. You will listen to our terms." Park stepped forward. He was a full foot shorter than the alien, but he showed no fear. "I'm Lieutenant Park Ji-woo. I speak for humanity. What do you want?" Velgoth tilted his head, as if surprised by Park's calm tone. "Your species shows unexpected courage for such weak creatures. This is why we offer mercy. Leave this system immediately. Return to your home space. Never speak of what you have seen here. Do this, and your people will live." "And the Veltharans?" Park asked. "The Veltharans will serve the Dominion, as all conquered races do. Their children will be raised as workers. Their elders will feed our bioships. Their crystals will power our weapons. This is the natural order of things." Park felt his hands clench into fists. "Natural order? You mean murder and slavery?" "I mean survival of the strong," Velgoth replied. "Your species is young. You do not understand how the galaxy works. The strong take what they need. The weak serve or die. This is how it has always been." "Not where we come from," Park said quietly. Velgoth made a sound that might have been laughter. "Yes, we have studied your species. You fight wars over resources just as we do. You enslave the weak in your own way. You are no different from us." "You're wrong," Park said. "We fight wars, yes. We have problems, yes. But we also have something you don't understand. We have a word for it, honor. It means we protect those who can't protect themselves, even when it costs us." "Honor?" The alien seemed genuinely puzzled. "What value does honor have? Can you eat it? Can you build ships with it? Can it stop our weapons?" Park smiled grimly. "You're about to find out." Velgoth stepped closer, and Park could smell the alien's breath like rotting meat and burning metal. "You would die for creatures you have never met? For people who are not even your own species?" "That's exactly right," Park said. "That's what makes us human." "Then you are fools," Velgoth said. "And fools deserve to die. But first, let me explain what will happen. We will destroy your ship slowly, piece by piece. We will make sure you live long enough to watch us finish harvesting this world. Then we will track your signal back to your homeworld, and we will do the same to every human city, every human child." Park reached into his pocket and pulled out a small recording device. He had been recording the entire conversation. "Let me make sure I have this right. You're threatening to commit genocide against my entire species?" "If you force us to, yes." Park nodded and put the device away. "Good. I wanted to make sure we had that on record." "Why?" Velgoth asked. "Because when the rest of humanity hears this recording, they're going to do something that will probably surprise you. And what is that?" Park looked directly into the alien's masked face. "They're going to come for you. All of them. Every ship, every soldier, every human in the galaxy. They're going to hunt you down like the animals you are." Velgoth made that grinding laugh again. "Your entire species against the might of the Dominion? We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We have fleets that darken the stars. What can one primitive species do against us?" "I don't know," Park admitted. "But I know this. If you hurt innocent people, humans will come for you. It doesn't matter how many of you there are. It doesn't matter how powerful your ships are. Humans don't forgive genocide. And humans never forget." "Empty threats from a dying race," Velgoth said. "When we are done with this world, we will find your Earth and show you the price of defiance." Park stepped closer to the alien. "Then you better make sure you get all of us. Because if even one human survives to tell this story, every human in the galaxy will know what you did here, and they will make you pay for it." Velgoth stared at him for a long moment. Then the alien turned and walked back toward the airlock. "You have 1 hour to evacuate the system. After that, we begin the demonstration of why the Dominion rules the galaxy. As soon as the alien ship detached from the Thunderhawk, Park ran to the bridge. He found Captain Lee studying sensor readings with Dr. Kim. "Sir, you need to hear this recording," Park said, playing back his conversation with Velgoth. When it finished, Lee's face was pale. "They threatened Earth directly?" "Yes, sir. And they meant it. I could see it in their body language. They really will try to find and destroy our homeworld." Dr. Kim looked up from her station. "Sir, I've been studying their communication patterns. I think I understand how their technology works now." "Explain," Lee said. "The Veltharans communicate through harmonic frequencies, sound waves that resonate through their crystal bodies. The Kreks are using those same crystals to power their weapons, but they don't understand the technology fully. If we could reverse the frequency, we could turn their own weapons against them? Maybe, sir, but we'd need to get much closer to their ships. And we'd need the help of surviving Veltharans who understand the technology." Park checked the tactical display. The Kreks warship was moving back toward the main fleet. "Sir, they'll be back soon, and next time they won't want to talk." Lee looked at the planet on the main screen. Somewhere down there, Elder Threnya and the other survivors were still hiding, still hoping that help would come. "Dr. Kim, can you contact the survivors again?" "Yes, sir. Tell Elder Threnya that we're going to try something desperate. Tell her we need her people's help to turn the Kreks weapons against them, and tell her—" Lee paused. "Tell her that humans keep their promises." A few minutes later, Elder Threnya's musical voice filled the bridge. "Captain Lee, we understand what you ask. Our singers will help you, even though it means revealing our location to the destroyers. But you must know, there are so many of them, and so few of you. How can you hope to win?" Lee thought about all the humans back on Earth who had no idea that an alien fleet was planning to destroy them. He thought about his daughter, playing in the garden behind their house. He thought about all the innocent people, human and alien, who would die if the Kreks dominion wasn't stopped. "We can't win," he said honestly. "But we can make sure the galaxy knows what you tried to do here. And we can make sure that humanity knows about the threat to Earth. Then we will sing for you, human captain. We will sing the song of crystals and make your enemies' weapons turn against them. It will be our last song, but it will be a song of defiance." Lee looked around his bridge one more time. In a few minutes, the Kreks would return with overwhelming force. The Thunderhawk would be destroyed, and everyone aboard would die. But their message would reach Earth, and when it did, humanity would learn what happened at Velthara Prime. "All hands," Lee announced over the ship's communication system. "Prepare for battle. We're not going to win this fight, but we're going to make sure it matters." Outside the ship, the Kreks fleet began to move. 6 months had passed since the Thunderhawk died in the flames above Velthara Prime. The Kreks Dominion had finished their harvest and moved on to other worlds, confident that they had eliminated the only witnesses to their crime. They were wrong. Captain Lee Daeho's final message had reached Earth Command just hours before his ship was destroyed. The recording of Lieutenant Park's conversation with Subcommander Velgoth had been broadcast to every human colony, every space station, every ship in known space. The reaction was immediate and total. For the first time in human history, every government on Earth agreed on something. Every human colony stopped what they were doing. Every human corporation turned their factories to war production. The message was clear. An alien race had threatened to exterminate humanity, and humanity was going to respond. Admiral Shin Dong-wook stood on the bridge of the massive dreadnought Storm's End, watching as the largest fleet in human history prepared for departure. Around him, officers worked at their stations with calm efficiency. Everyone knew what they were here to do. "Admiral," said Captain Nayunji from her communication station, "the last of the stealth ships are reporting ready. All fleets are in position." Shin looked at the tactical display. It showed not one fleet, but dozens of them, spread across 100 light-years of space. Every human world had contributed ships. Earth had sent its entire navy. The colonies had emptied their defense forces. Even civilian cargo ships had been converted into carriers and transports. "How many ships do we have total?" Shin asked. 2,047 combat vessels, sir. Another 500 support ships and... Na hesitated. "Sir, We've received volunteer crews from 17 different alien species. Apparently, word about Velthara Prime has spread. Shin nodded grimly. The galaxy had watched as the Kreks destroyed an entire world, while everyone else did nothing. Now they were watching to see what humanity would do about it. Colonel Moon Sang-ho, Shin called to the ground forces commander. Are your troops ready? Moon looked up from his tactical board. Yes, sir. Every Marine who could hold a weapon volunteered for this mission. We had to turn away more volunteers than we could take. Dr. Lim Jae-sung, Shin called to the weapons researcher. What about the new resonance weapons? Dr. Lim smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. We've perfected the Veltharan crystal technology, sir. We can turn their own bioships into bombs. Every ship in the fleet has been equipped with resonance generators. Shin felt a cold satisfaction. The Kreks thought they had destroyed all evidence of their crimes at Velthara Prime. They had no idea that Dr. Kim So-min had managed to transmit the complete harmonic frequency data back to Earth before the Thunderhawk was destroyed, sir, called out Lieutenant Commander Park. Min-ho from the navigation station. We're receiving the final go signal from Earth Command. Shin opened a channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Shin. 6 months ago, the Kreks Dominion destroyed the peaceful world of Velthara Prime. They murdered billions of innocent people. They enslaved children. They threatened to do the same to Earth and every human world. He paused, looking at the tactical display that showed 2,000 human warships ready for battle. Today, we teach them what happens when you threaten innocent people. Today we show the galaxy that humans don't abandon those who need help. Today we bring justice to Velthara Prime. All fleets jump to hyperspace. Target Velthara system. Space around the fleet twisted as 2,000 ships entered hyperspace simultaneously. The largest military operation in human history was underway. At Velthara Prime, the Kreks had left a small garrison fleet to guard their mining operations. They were still stripping the planet's surface, looking for any remaining Veltharan crystals they might have missed. Commander Velgoth, promoted after his successful elimination of the human ship, was in charge of the cleanup operation. He was reviewing harvest reports when his sensor officer called out an alarm. Commander, we're detecting hyperspace signatures. Multiple ships approaching. Velgoth looked at his tactical display with mild interest. How many ships? The sensor officer worked frantically at his controls. I can't get an accurate count, sir. The signatures are overlapping. At least 50. Maybe 100. 100 ships. Velgoth was surprised. No one had dared to challenge the Kreks in this sector for years. What species? Unknown, sir. Wait. I'm getting identification signals. They're human, sir. Velgoth felt a chill run through his biomechanical body. The humans had returned, but he had destroyed their ship. He had killed their captain. How could they be back with 100 ships? Sir, the sensor officer's voice was rising in panic. I'm reading massive energy signatures across the entire system. They're not coming from one direction. They're coming from everywhere. On the main display, space began to light up as ships dropped out of hyperspace. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. They appeared at every jump point simultaneously, surrounding the entire system in a sphere of human warships. Velgoth stared at the display in growing horror. This wasn't a fleet. This was an invasion force larger than anything in Krek's history. Get me a count, he ordered. Sir, sensors show over 2,000 combat vessels, and they're all moving toward us. Velgoth's mind raced. 2,000 ships. The humans had brought their entire species to war over one destroyed research vessel. It was impossible. It was insane. A communication signal came through on all frequencies. Velgoth recognized the language. It was being broadcast in every known tongue in the galaxy. Krek's forces at Velthara Prime. This is Admiral Shin Dong-wook of the Human Expeditionary Force. You are ordered to surrender immediately. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force. Velgoth activated his own communications. Human Admiral, this is Commander Velgoth of the Kreks Dominion. You are vastly outnumbered across the galaxy. This system belongs to the Kreks. Leave now and we will not report this incursion to the main fleet. The human's response came immediately. Commander Velgoth, I remember you from Lieutenant Park's recording. You threatened to hunt down and exterminate every human in the galaxy. You promised to murder our children. Velgoth felt his biomechanical body begin to shake. They had recorded his conversation with the human officer. They had evidence of his threats. I offer you one chance, Admiral Shin continued. Surrender now and you will be taken prisoner. Resist and you will be destroyed. You have 60 seconds to decide. Velgoth looked at his tactical display. He had 80 ships against 2,000. The smart thing would be to surrender. But the Kreks did not surrender. The Kreks had never surrendered. All ships, he broadcast to his fleet, prepare for battle. Show these humans why the galaxy fears the Dominion. The 60 seconds passed in silence. Then space around Velthara Prime erupted in light as 2,000 human ships opened fire simultaneously. But this was not the crude weapons fire the Kreks expected. This was something new. Harmonic frequencies filled space, and the biomechanical Krek ships began to shake and crack as their own living hulls turned against them. The battle lasted 18 minutes. When it ended, every Krek ship in the system had been destroyed. Not a single human vessel had been lost. As Admiral Shin watched the wreckage of the Krek's fleet drift in space, he opened a channel to all human forces. All ships, this is Admiral Shin. Velthara Prime has been liberated. But this is only the beginning. The Krek's Dominion has colonies across the galaxy. They have slave worlds where billions suffer. Today we begin the liberation of them all. He switched to a general broadcast that would reach every species in known space. To all worlds under Krek's occupation, help is coming. To all species who have suffered under their tyranny, justice is coming. To the Krek's Dominion itself, your time is over. Humanity has arrived and we do not forgive genocide. The message spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. On 100 worlds, enslaved peoples looked up at the stars and dared to hope. And in the depths of space, the Krek's fleet commanders received news that would change the galaxy forever. The humans were coming, and they brought the storm. 1 year after the Battle of Velthara Prime, the galaxy had changed forever. Captain Jian Wubin stood on the bridge of the new Thunderhawk II, watching as the last Krek stronghold burned in the distance. The massive space station had taken 3 days to fall, but fall it had. Like every other Krek's installation in the galaxy, it could not stand against the combined might of humanity and its allies. "Sir," called out his communications officer, "we're receiving surrender signals from the remaining Krek ships." "They're requesting terms," John nodded. "Tell them the terms are the same as always. Complete surrender, return of all slaves, and trial for war crimes. No negotiations." He looked at the tactical display. What had once shown hundreds of Krek ships now showed only a few dozen, all broadcasting surrender signals. The mighty Krek's Dominion, which had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, was finished. It had taken humanity exactly 1 year to accomplish what no other species had ever dared to attempt. They had not just defeated the Kreks, they had completely destroyed their empire and freed every world they had conquered. "Sir," said his tactical officer, "Admiral Shin is requesting to speak with you." A moment later, Admiral Shin Dong-wook's face appeared on the main screen. The man looked older than he had a year ago, worn down by months of constant warfare. But his eyes still held the determination that had driven humanity across the galaxy. "Captain Jian, congratulations on another successful operation. How many survivors did you recover from the slave stations?" "Over 50,000, sir. 12 different species. They're all requesting transport to human-protected worlds." Shin nodded. "Add them to the list. We're up to almost 1 billion refugees now, scattered across human space. President O wants to establish permanent refugee colonies." John wasn't surprised. In the past year, as human forces had liberated world after world from Krek's occupation, millions of freed slaves had asked for human protection. They had seen what humans did for people they had never met, and they wanted to live under that protection. "Sir," John said, "what's the status of the main Krek's fleet?" "Gone," Shin said simply. "The last of their command ships were destroyed at the Battle of Proxima Krell 3 days ago. As of right now, there are no organized Krek's military forces left in known space." John felt a deep satisfaction. Captain Lee Dae-ho and the crew of the original Thunderhawk had been avenged. The people of Velthara Prime had been avenged. Every innocent person murdered by the Kreks had been avenged. "What are our orders now, sir?" "Return to Earth, Captain. The war is over. It's time to figure out what comes next." 2 weeks later, Captain Jeon stood in the ruins of what had once been the great crystal city of Velthara Prime. The planet was slowly healing from the wounds the Kreks had inflicted, and the surviving Veltharans had returned from their hiding places to begin rebuilding. Elder Threnya approached him across the crystal fields. Her harmonic voice filled with something John had never heard from a Veltharan before. Hope. Captain John, the human who honors the memory of Captain Lee, we have prepared something for you. She led him to the center of the ruined city, where the Veltharans had constructed a monument. It was made of pure crystal, and when the light hit it, it sang with perfect harmony. Carved into its surface were the names of every human who had died at Velthara Prime, starting with Captain Lee Dae-ho and ending with Engineer Han Mi-young. We call it the Song of Arrival, Elder Threnya explained. It tells the story of how humanity came when no one else would, how you answered our call when we thought we would die alone. Our children will sing this song for 1,000 generations. John felt tears in his eyes as he listened to the crystal monument sing. The melody was sad, but also triumphant, a song of loss that had become a song of hope. There's something else, Elder Threnya said. Representatives from 47 different species are coming to Velthara Prime next week. They want to sign something they are calling the Terran Protection Accords. What's that? John asked. A treaty that formally requests human protection for any species that cannot defend itself. They have seen what humans do for innocent people, and they want that protection for their own worlds. John stared at her in surprise. 47 species wanted human protection? That would make humanity responsible for the defense of hundreds of worlds. Elder Threnya, humans are just one species. We can't protect the entire galaxy. The Veltharan made a sound that might have been laughter. Captain, you destroyed the most powerful empire in galactic history to save people you had never met. You crossed the galaxy to answer the cry of strangers. You spent a year liberating every world under Krek's occupation. If humans cannot protect the innocent, then no one can. A week later, President O. Minsik of the United Earth government stood before the largest gathering of alien representatives in galactic history. The ceremony was being broadcast to every world in known space, and billions of beings watched as humanity was formally recognized as the protector of peaceful civilizations. 1 year ago, President O began, the galaxy lost a beautiful world called Velthara Prime. The Krek's dominion murdered billions of innocent people, while the rest of the galaxy watched and did nothing. But 300 humans heard their cry for help, and they decided that some things are more important than safety. He paused, looking out at the assembled representatives of species from across the galaxy. Today, we sign the Terran Protection Accords. But let me be clear about what this means. This is not an empire. This is not conquest. This is a promise. A promise that if you cannot defend yourself, if someone threatens to destroy your world or enslave your children, humans will come. We will answer your call no matter how far away you are, no matter how dangerous the enemy. Ambassador Kang Hee-rin stepped forward with the treaty documents. One by one, the representatives of 47 different species signed their names, formally requesting human protection. When the ceremony was over, President O returned to his office to find Admiral Shin waiting for him. Mr. President, Shin said, we've received another distress call, a species called the Elthari, 300 light-years away. They're being attacked by something called the Void Hunters. O looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, innocent people were crying for help just as the Veltharans had done. How soon can we get ships there? He asked. Captain John's task force can be there in 2 weeks, sir. O nodded. Send them. Send everything they need. Sir, Shin said quietly. Are you sure about this? We're promising to protect half the galaxy. That's a lot of responsibility. O thought about Captain Lee Dae-ho, who had made the choice to help strangers even when it meant disobeying orders. He thought about the crew of the Thunderhawk, who had voted unanimously to risk their lives for people they had never met. Admiral, a long time ago, someone much wiser than me said that the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. The galaxy watched the Kreks commit genocide for centuries, and everyone did nothing because it was safer that way. He turned to face Shin. Humans don't do nothing. That's what makes us different. That's what makes us human. 2 days later, Captain Jeon received his new orders while orbiting Velthara Prime. The Thunderhawk II and her escort fleet were to proceed immediately to the Elthari system to investigate reports of attacks by an unknown enemy. As his ship prepared for hyperspace, John looked down at the crystal world below. The monument to the original Thunderhawk crew caught the light and sang its eternal song, the song that reminded the galaxy that someone had heard their cry for help. All ships, John announced to his fleet. "I prepare for hyperspace jump. We have people to save." The fleet jumped to hyperspace, carrying the storm toward another world in need. Behind them, the crystal monument sang its song of hope. And across the galaxy, peaceful species looked to the stars and knew that if darkness came for them, humanity would be there. The storm had become eternal vigilance. The promise had become legend. And in the depths of space, those who preyed on the innocent learned to fear the words that now echoed from world to world. "Help is coming. Humanity has heard you.